In today's episode, we are going to take a look at 3 interesting developments in space news. This is ZakDTV, the place for interesting news from around the net. Let's get right into this. On Monday, Juno, that's the spacecraft that's orbiting Jupiter right now, made its closest pass ever to this giant planet, within 2,200 miles. That is closer than I am to the people in California watching this right now. That's how close we got to this giant body deep in our solar system. What's even cooler is it also passed within 5,600 miles of the Great Red Spot on Jupiter. That's that giant storm swirling on the face of Jupiter that is so big we're able to detect it 340 years ago with their telescope technology. Well, now they released the photos, and here they are. I know these aren't the coolest looking photos out there. They're kind of bland, but you have to think, this is a spacecraft running with camera technology that is worse than most of our cell phones have right now, and transmitting them over millions of miles. So I'd say they came out pretty good. And of course, as these hit the internet, you're going to have your citizen scientists doing the proper touch-ups, the proper enhancements, and giving you photos more like this, where you can really see the definition into the atmosphere. What I think is even better about this situation, though, is all the other data that NASA has collected from it. You have to keep in mind here that JunoCam is only one of, I think it's 11 sensors on this spacecraft. So they're measuring a lot of other things when it comes to Jupiter. Hopefully, the data they get back will give us some information on, like, why the storm seems to be shrinking. It went from an oval shape down into more of a circular shape. Maybe it will tell us how far down this storm actually extends. And the biggest question is, what can keep a storm raging like this against the flow of winds in the atmosphere for hundreds of years, as far as we know? This could have been going on for thousands of years. We just never had the ability to see it. There's a lot of science here, maybe a few answers, and I bet you a lot more questions. That's the way space research is. Now on to the next story. We have some even cooler space research coming up. Starshot, which was created by Russian billionaire Yuri Milner, is a concept that he came up with his think tank, Breakthrough Initiatives. The goal here is to send spacecraft to Proxima Centauri. That is the closest star to our solar system. It's 4.2 light years away. We're looking at 25 trillion miles. And for comparison here, the furthest thing that we have ever sent out from Earth is Voyager 1. It's traveling at 38,000 miles per hour and is just outside of our solar system. At that speed, it would take tens of thousands of years to get to Proxima Centauri. But recently here, Breakthrough Initiatives held an international conference at Stanford University called Breakthrough Discuss, where they wanted to look at a bunch of different groundbreaking technologies they're looking at, but the biggest one being Starshot. And according to Harvard science professor Avi Loeb, it looks feasible. Now, if you haven't heard of this project before, this is where they want to take small, basically a little bit bigger than a microchip size satellites, attach them to a solar sail, and hit them with a beam from a laser to accelerate them up to 20% the speed of light. There's a lot of problems here that have to be overcome, but it's good to hear that these scientists working on this don't see any major hurdles that can't be overcome. Some of the problems they might run into here would be things like making a good satellite that's small enough to be sent on this kind of mission. Well, Cornell University is working on one right now. It'll have a gyroscope, a magnetometer, a radio, solar cells, microcontroller, antenna. Everything you need to beam back images from another solar system. Another one they're looking at is building the laser infrastructure. I mean, something like this would require dozens of huge lasers that would be able to be focused all on one point to accelerate this to the speeds desired. Well, with proper funding, getting the right space agencies on board, and the correct government approval, it can be done. And they also figure at the size of the laser needed to do this, they would only need 2 minutes of focus on the solar sail to accelerate it to the speed they desire. Well, that brings up a whole new problem. Probably one of the biggest problems they see with this is finding a material that can handle the acceleration. Solar sails exist already. They have been tested, they work, they're fine. The problem they're running into here is by using that laser to accelerate it that quickly, you're looking at putting forces on that of 60 Gs. 60 times the force of Earth's gravity. That is so much force, it could tear most things apart. They have some plans in work for that too. Nothing precise yet, nothing specific, but they think it's a hurdle that can be overcome. I hope they can. One of their suggestions is to use a sphere. So it'll almost be like a disco ball up there with a little satellite in the middle. Pretty neat. When all is said and done, what this could do for us is just amazing. This would make a trip to Mars, for a satellite, we couldn't put humans under that kind of G load, take 2 hours. We would be able to explore our inner solar system like never before. So I could see the benefit to a system like this. And it seems like our scientific community sees the benefit as well. So my hope is, within my lifetime, I get to see a trip to Proxima Centauri and photos back. Here's hoping. And for my last bit of interesting here, astronomers have found a new star 600 light years away. What's the big deal, right? It's another star. There's more stars in the sky than there's grain of sand on our beach. This one is the size of Saturn. That's right, it is so small that when scientists first saw it, they thought it was a planet orbiting in a binary star group. Well, it turns out there's 3 stars in that group. They've named this star EBLM JO555-57AB. You know, they come up with all these cool little acronyms for everything else they do. Why can't they come up with better star names? Now, like I said, this thing is the size of Saturn in diameter. When they did measurements on it, they found it is 85 times as dense, 85 times as massive as Saturn is. That means it is dense enough to fuse hydrogen into helium, which is the reaction that it takes to be a star. The most amazing part of this is, according to our current models, it takes a mass about 85 times the size of Jupiter to become a star, to actually cause that fusion. This planet is right on that line. This star, it's a star. So this is the smallest star we've ever seen. And in fact, it fits in that category of ultra cool stars, kind of like TRAPPIST-1 that's been in the news here a bit recently. So there you have it. Seems like stars come in all shapes and sizes. They could be as small as Saturn or 1 billion times bigger than the sun. It's really amazing what's out there in our solar system. And on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for stopping in. Keep in mind, I do this 7 days a week. It's a live stream on Saturday and a short on Sunday. So feel free to stop back in anytime. And hopefully I'll see you again. Make sure to stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.